But what I want to call to the attention of the Senate today is in the process of the new rulemaking that resulted in this 3-2 vote that's upended everything. The process itself was flawed. Now, mind you, we come in to this on net neutrality. The public has no ambiguity on this. As reported by the Wall Street Journal, as reported by MSNBC, and Mr. President, I would ask that 2 articles related to the same be admitted. I ask unanimous consent into the record.
Without objection.
And in those articles, it points out that net neutrality is widely popular. 83% of the American public support net neutrality. The other 17%, some of them say they don't. I don't know how they don't, but it's a pretty overwhelming majority, 83%. But even among Republicans, in the surveys that have been done, 76% of self-identified Republicans say that they support net neutrality. Here's the flaw in the process that the FCC used. 24 million comments came in from supposedly Americans, and I put quotations around that were filed either for or against the rulemaking. There's a problem in this record that was built because 2 million of those comments featured stolen identities. It was not a real person. It was somebody else's identity. Some of those identities were people that had long since died. 500,000 comments were from Russian addresses. 50,000 consumer complaints were inexplicably missing from the record. Now let's take the part from Russian addresses. Isn't this beginning to tell us something that we know, that there was Russian interference in the last election? We also know by our intelligence community that there was Russian entrance into the voting records of some 20 states. Now we're seeing the Russian influence enter in to the making of law, in this case, the rulemaking, trying to influence comments, whether it were comments for the rulemaking or against the rulemaking. It's another indication that Russia indeed is intending on distorting, on influencing the daily operations at the microscopic level, not at the level of the election of a president, but at the microscopic level of influencing the development of rules to carry out laws. In this case, a rule that the American people feel quite strongly about. 83% in favor of net neutrality, the opposite of what the Republican majority on the FCC has enacted. So now we have at least 19 state attorneys general that have raised concerns. They even wrote to the Federal Communications Commission asking that the agency hold off on its vote to eliminate the net neutrality rules, which the Republican chairman and the FCC majority promptly ignored. And the FCC is refusing to even work with law enforcement to get to the bottom of this issue. Shouldn't the fact that there are Russian bots and people directed by the Kremlin trying to influence our government processes, shouldn't that be something that we ought to be working with law enforcement? Well, Mr. President, I'm going to continue to raise this issue over and over, whether it's this agency's, the FCC's rulemaking, or if it is other agencies' rulemaking, which is chronicled in this Wall Street Journal article that has been inserted in the record. This is deadly serious business because this is our democracy. We have to have the ability to operate in good faith that information that we are getting is accurate information. And when we see this kind of evidence, we know there is a flaw in the system, and that flaw might actually have its source in the name of a person named Vladimir Putin.